matter. And I had a live that was abrupted as I moved from one channel to another, stupidly enough. And then it stayed live. So I realized the only way to combat that liveness state is to start another live. And this is what I decided to do. So this live is about Jupiter in Aries. And what we're looking at is the ingress chart of Jupiter back into Aries. This happens in December 20th. And Jupiter says goodbye to Pisces for the next 12 years, um, and enters Aries. As it enters Aries, let's see, with the aspects that it makes here is a square to the Sun that's about to ingress into Capricorn. So this is its opening line, is a square to the Sun. That can express itself as a super optimistic approach that is at odds with somebody else's ego. So your belief, your optimism, somebody's Jupiter's optimism and belief is at odds with somebody's ego. That's an interesting opening chord for this ingress. Um, Jupiter in Aries, just, Jupiter. So our beliefs, our sense of optimism, traveling spirit, our adventurous spirit, in a sign that is of the impulsive warrior. Aries in itself is quite optimistic. It's combative, militant, intelligent, because it's, ruling the mind, ruling the head, headstrong, cardinal, starting things, igniting something. And, Jupiter is doing it way big. So the ruler of this Jupiter, Mars, is still retrograde in Gemini. So the type of initiations, the type of actions, or even military actions or military intelligence is reflective. We might not be acting it out just yet. There is a reassessment period for both the motivations for our actions and the way we communicate with words, the word in this word, how we use it, what is the ideology, what is the philosophy rather than the ideology, what is the philosophy of our actions or non-actions. It can actually be a bit of a non-action philosophy because Mars is retrograde, so it's reflective, but it's taking the time to reassess things, and then Jupiter enters in and magnifies. It's a bit, it can be even a bit of a full gas in neutral kind of effect, because Jupiter comes and let's do it, and Mars is like, we are processing things right now, and Jupiter comes with it, so let's process everything. So that can be, thinking big about, thinking big but reflecting big time. So right now it's going to be just reflecting big time about something. So it's like, hey, I'm in Aries again. Let's think about all the things we did when I was in Aries last time and Mars was direct. Okay, let's think about it. Um, so that's just the ingress. Let's go to the transits. Jupiter. But this is, yeah, any aspect. And we are coming to after December 20. We only have one aspect, that is the square to the Sun, which we already talked about. So let's begin 2023. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Thank you. Transits. Jupiter. Any aspect. And so Jupiter in January 4 is sextiling Venus. and Venus is already in Aquarius. I talked about it when I leaked. I talked about Venus in Capricorn earlier today, and then I leaked a bit and began to speak about Venus in Aquarius. I said this is a joint of, you know, an intelligent military person and an intelligent hacker, forming a bit of a semi-romantic sapiosexual duo, deciding to take over the world together. But the ruler Mars is still retrograde. So, right? Mars still retrograde. So this one is kind of a jolly aspect to do with hacking for and against humanity, reflecting on strategies, what are we going to do, how we're going to combat, how we're going to take over the world, and how we're going to do something in favor of humanity. And so it's not so much of a manipulative thing, like it's more naive the way I see it. It's not so much, even if it's how we're going to take over the world, it's very direct. You know, and the belief that there's something good that we're doing for humanity when we're doing that. Um, all the while, Mars is still thinking about it. The moon is growing at this time. And that's a nice time for a nice time. You just have to take into consideration, if you're doing something romantic, that the moon is not too far from a retrograde Mars, and that can hamper your optimism when it comes to praxis, at least for the time being. January 25th, 2023. And this is interesting because from January 4 to January 25, that's 20 days that Jupiter is going from this aspect to the other aspect. Okay, so it's not doing too much interesting stuff here. But then it's on January 25th, it perfects its Jupiter sextile to the Sun. The Sun is in Aquarius, so the Sun is next up to go. Sun in Aquarius, Jupiter in Aries. You know, on a mundane level, it can be that the military forces or intelligence forces are in harmonious relationships with people that are rulers. And that can be the new rulers, that can be previous rulers. There's a certain sort of harmony. The belief and sometimes even ideology can be in alignment with the people in charge. So there can be a belief that there is a regime that is in good faith, or there are leaders, there are solar figures in our life that the army supports, or that are militant in nature, that are considered intelligent, that are considered in favor of humanity. Whether that is an illusion or not, that is the spirit. And Mars is already direct. So that's it. We can't talk about Mars anymore. We can't talk about Mars being hampering anything. This is a go for it. It's just some new form of harmony between a solar figure and a militant Jupiterian figure. There you just go for it. A very masculine energy of optimism, vibrancy, vitality, intelligence. Some might argue that the sun is in detriment in Aquarius because the sun represents Leo, ruling Leo, and Aquarius is the opposite sign, so it's not in its exaltation, it's not in its home, it's actually at its detriment. That being said, that Aquarian sun or that solar figure shines due to its either humanitarian interests or perceived humanitarian interest, because it is the sun, the shine, or is a great activist. And there is this very young, like, energy, vital energy, a philosophy that is something of the new, optimism, a sense of faith in the future. And the type of combat or the type of belief or the type of combative belief has to do with communication, with intelligence. Again, this can be hacking, but this can also be media, mass media, and there can be a sort of either new leadership formed or leadership takes a turn that is very favorable or seemed favorable or optimistic and plays with modern technological tools. Okay, so a very optimistic philosophy that runs the game here. Is it a positive thing all in all? We don't know. Okay, the sun is trining Mars, so she's applying to trine Mars. Then that is the context, and this is the ruler of Jupiter at the time. So all in all, there is a very yang-like harmony between technology, solar figures, leaders, militant people, philosophers, thinkers. Something new is happening. Activists. Something new is happening. Okay, something new is happening that has perhaps the not adoration but appreciation of the people, some force that can at least be perceived or at least be sensed or at least be received as very positive, fresh new leaders, fresh breath of air. So that's for this particular transit, January 25. February 18, Jupiter sextiles Mercury. When Mercury is in Aquarius, well, you know, it's never a bad thing when we have this. It's transient. It's only for a couple of days. Well, you know, agreements that are in alignment with your beliefs, agreements that are, you know, new messages, new technologies, maybe launching of a new technology. Let's see the moon. No, the moon is you know, yes, it can be like I hope it's not launching of something new because that's not the time to do so, and the moon is applying to conjunct Pluto, but it's just you know, it's a message of optimism. The day-to-day mundane communication and trade and agreements are in alignment with the belief in your power to win something or in someone's power to win something. A transient, optimistic time. Then we have March 2nd, that Jupiter is going to conjunct Venus. So Venus, as we know, it is in fall in Aries. Because it is ruling Libra and it's sign of its detriment in Aries. So on the one hand, Venus is not like, Venus is in the domain of Mars, so she's not at home. But Venus conjunct Jupiter in Aries, you know, Venus conjunct Jupiter is never a bad aspect. Jupiter does rule the bringer of children or gurus or philosophers or things that Venus enjoys. So Venus might be, on the other hand, Jupiter magnifies things. So whatever experience Venus is having in this kind of a middle decan of Aries, which I think is also Mars ruled. So whatever experience Venus is having, Jupiter is magnifying that. So she could be experiencing like she's too much of the masculine role, or she's too much of the Martian role, the Martian type of Venusian, and Jupiter just magnifies that. So she either has to radically accept herself, or she will be feeling inconvenient to a very large extent. That can happen. Another thing is that there can be fight for the Venusians, so fight for women rights, values or conflict over values, religious conflict over values. All those things can be a bit more magnified at this time. This is a conjunction that is squared by the moon. The moon is separating from the square to this conjunction. So earlier that day, the moon is squaring this Jupiter-Venus conjunction. That adds to the discomfort of Venus because the emotional aspect and the love, what makes you feel loved and what makes you feel safe are at odds. And your beliefs are with what makes you feel loved. And so you might not get to feel so safe. Um, so it's a bit of an uncomfortable a bit of an uncomfortable time for the Venusian. Then Jupiter moves to conjunct Chiron, 14 degrees of Aries. This conjunction also sextiles Mars. And again, whatever wound you're experiencing on the Aries level, okay, the beginning of something new, the optimism, militant, innovative startup, intelligence, innovations or initiations, Jupiter makes it big. So this could be a good time for purging. This could be a good time for radical self-acceptance. It is in good relations to the ruler of this conjunction, Mars, that is direct in Gemini. So definitely there can be words that are penetrating the right spot, purging and healing. Okay, and they're coming from the Gemini part of your, the Gemini part of your life. So Mars quality, Mars penetrative quality with words can bring a bit of healing. It's like Jupiter brings that wound, that chironic wound of Aries into the surface big time, and then Mars comes in and penetrates with just the right words to kind of purge that pain away or take that pain away. While the experience in itself is uncomfortable because you magnify a wound, so is the healing magnified. And Mars is actually acting correct here. It's like it can be even an impulsive thing that somebody says that heals the sense of self that somebody has around something. Okay, am I having, we talked about Venus earlier. Maybe, you have, I don't know, Venus there and you're feeling like, oh, I'm this masculine woman, I'm this, I'm this, that. And then the Martians comes and just kind of by chance said, well, you know how many men are looking for just that. You know how sexy you are when you do that and that. And then you're like, oh, I didn't know that I'm attractive. I didn't know that that is what makes me attractive to so many other people. So it can be something as simple as that. I'm trying to think on a mundane level. Well, it can be certain sort of innovation or innovative technology or something like that. Then there is an issue with that technology that is magnified. Or militant technology that is magnified. Where's Mercury? In Pisces. Not very helpful. Or some militant initiation or something like that. And maybe it can be even a country that doesn't look so good on social media, that usually does not look so good on the social media, and Jupiter comes and magnifies that. But then some reporter comes in with a new point of view and kind of has a take or has an interpretation in that, and then nationwide that wound is being healed. So it can be the way, there are so many wars and battles right now, so it can be the way that we see a certain country. Maybe some information is either leaked or we have like somebody on the media or some reporter kind of shows a picture or shows something where maybe some country was aggressive, and then and Jupiter comes and magnified it. So they took like one big aggressive act, and then comes a reporter and said, you know what? Do you look at this and look at this and look at this and look for how many years they have been dealing with so and so and so. So this time they took this one big act and finally they made it. And so the country is so afraid to be misrepresented in the media. And then finally, like somebody understands just like that. They post a new information, they post a new point of view, they frame this in a way that is actually favorable in healing for that country. So this is another thing that can happen um, on a more mundane level. So yeah, it can be a military reporter or a reporter around a military issue that then changes the opinion of the public in favor of um, of either a country or regime or organization that was used to being presented badly or had an issue with something, and then that issue was magnified or had a certain insecurities about certain abilities, and then they're being framed in a way that's actually healing for them. So that's March 12th, 2023. March 28, 2023, Jupiter conjuncts Mercury. Let's see if that still happens in Aries. Yes, it does. So, still separating from the conjunction with Chiron, Mercury applies to conjunct Jupiter. It's not making any other aspects. So then we can have either a message of war or a message of winning or a message of conflict or a certain big communication that's being revealed. So we can expect either somebody claiming that they want something or claiming that they have a certain initiation. The moon is growing here, so it can be launching something new, even launching a battle. Unfortunately, it can also be that case. Or a new project or a new initiation, certain new businesses to do with technology, something of that sort with Jupiter, magnifying things. It can be technology and ideology. It can be media and belief. It can be teachings about religion. It can be something to do, message to do with children. Mars is already in Cancer. So again, strengthen the idea that can be maybe a message to do with children. It's in itself not good or bad. Just some big news that might not even be as big as they seem, but at least they're presented as some big news of something new. And Jupiter conjunct Sun. Let's see if that's still happening. Yes, that is still happening in Aries. So this unfortunately does not make any major aspect. It does make a bit of a weird aspect to Pluto that is not nice. But other than that, it's a conjunction in the last phase of Aries that is actually Venus ruled. The sun is exalted in Aries, so I don't expect too much troubles with that, and Jupiter just magnifies that. The only thing I'm concerned is like, what is this weird aspect with Pluto? Well, somebody gets the limelight today, and is worshipped. Somebody is worshipped today. Somebody gets the limelight. Somebody shines. Solar figure. It can be a solar Venusian figure. Maybe new female prime minister of somewhere is elected, or somebody that people are going to hold high. It's not making any aspect to anything else, though. So they're like this separation from other planets, even though yes, it's Sun conjunct Jupiter, it's two planets, but these two planets are not making any aspects, like they're not relating to anything different. So it can be somebody who is saying maybe even like a new, like it's like a new king or a new queen or somewhere, because it's somebody who is being held high somebody who's can be religious or highly philosophical, solar figure, maybe Martian, or maybe even female combat or something like that. But they are removed from society. They are removed from the other planets. They are removed from actually relating to or connecting with society. So it's not a bad aspect. Okay, somebody gets the limelight, but they're not connecting just yet, at least not here. So, but it is a time where philosophy and belief are, Jupiter in the light of the sun, right? So philosophy and beliefs are getting a boost, are getting the spotlight, getting the role of rulership, leadership, solar figures. Sometimes the father figure is very much enmeshed with divinity, God, faith, belief, philosophy, higher learning, or sometimes children, because Jupiter is also the bringer of children. So, all in all, a very noble aspect that does not like necessarily justified. Very exalted aspect, but you know, I don't think it's a perceived thing so much. It can be genuine, like it can be something that's positive, genuinely positive. It just doesn't connect with anything. So, which in itself is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes the removal from society can actually be preservative to the innate positive nature of this conjunction. March 5, Jupiter sextiles Venus again. Where's Jupiter? Yes, Jupiter is in the 27th degree of Aries, sextiling Venus. This is happening on the 5th of May, a day before my birthday. This is my last chance to have a funny romance this year. A Venus perfected year. Venus is in Gemini, right on my Juno. Oh, wow. Okay. Perhaps it is more optimistic than I thought. Really lovely. Just remember that Venus in Gemini is sociable, is flirtatious, is not necessarily, by the way, Venus in Gemini, speaking of Venus in Gemini, it's not necessarily non-monogamous, so that can be misleading because it can be a very flirtatious Venus, but actually monogamous. And then because it's Gemini, they can be so sociable and so open, then they can actually get really hurt by being misinterpreted. And that's something I didn't know. A lot of people get the concept that, Venus, Gemini, they're probably cheaters, they're probably of two minds around something, but they're not necessarily so. So it's a very positive, fiery, young, open, talkative kind of merging. And the moon is still growing, almost full in Scorpio. So yeah, there's a good chance for something nice to begin here. If you are, on the look, if you are in a Venus perfected, Jupiter perfected year, if one of these houses, if Aries is perfected for you, Mars is in Cancer, not its best of signs, and it squares Jupiter. But what, Mars square Jupiter, my only problem with this Mars square Jupiter, it's not perfecting it, it's applying, is that can create a collision between action and belief. And it is in orb, so that's something, Mars in Cancer is, Cancer is where we expect to feel safe, and Mars wants to defend something. So it can take a while for these two to act according to the best interest of both. But all in all, Jupiter is in the final degrees of Aries, so it has seen Aries. These are also degrees that are ruled by Venus, and it is optimistic, but more in touch with the reality of Aries. It's about to go to Taurus, so it's not the kind of optimism that is senseless, and that's what I like about Jupiter at the end of any sign. Um, because Jupiter is something big and something new, but this one is 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 still thinking big while being informed of all the challenges that Aries bring. But it's still thinking big about something. And it's in communication with that talkative Venus of the words, Venus of the people, Venus of communication, Venus of technology. So yeah, like it's a good time for the merging of these two. This is an excellent romantic time, all in all. Yes, Mars is in Cancer. Not everything is perfect. Um, but that is a good time for a good time. You can expect any relation that starts right now to be flamboyant, open, passionate, air and fire, kind of igniting each other, great thinking together, growing together, playing devil's advocate together. Um, Talking a lot of talking. Okay, a lot of talking, passionate love words and thoughts and beliefs and ideas, and it can be quite an interesting one. Unfortunately, I don't see any Saturn aspecting any of these, so it's like longevity is not promised. It does trine the moon, separating like the moon will trine Saturn on that day. So because the moon is attracting something, then maybe that can give a sense of longevity. If the emotional aspect is being involved, if your sense of safety is being involved, and you capitalize on that, then you can have a bit of longevity to that a connection. But Saturn does not make any connection necessarily with Venus or with Jupiter. Still, good time for a good time. Whatever is beginning on that time, due to the moon, will have long-term effects, especially if it begins in the earlier that day. And on a mundane level, it can be time for some diplomatic relations. For some diplomatic relations, that can actually be time for, they say that war is the continuation of diplomacy in other mean. Also, peace agreements are the continuation of war in other means, so that the war, you only go to war so that you can negotiate, and then after you went, they can be, I'm not saying this is the end of the Ukraine-Russia war, but it can definitely be a certain time where conflicts come to an end. Jupiter assess what it has achieved, what it has not achieved. It has probably achieved some things in the battle, in the war, in the combative attitude, whether it's technological or not, that allow him to reach a better state when it comes to negotiate. And it means the Venus in Gemini, so a very witty Venus that knows how to get its interest across as well. So it can actually yield an agreement where both sides are happy, except that Mars is in Cancer, so it's like there can be a situation where actions and beliefs and words are not necessarily in alignment. So you have to take that into consideration also on a mundane level, also on a personal level. Lovely, lovely time, 5th of May 2023, but the last Venus perfected day for me. May 18 is Jupiter still, no, May 18 Jupiter ingresses into Taurus. So the last aspect Jupiter is going to make is going to be that sextile to Venus. All in all, Jupiter is going to have interesting time in Aries, not the easiest. It's going to meet Chiron. It's going to it's not having the worst time in Aries, it's not having the best time in Aries. By 18 May, it's out of there and it enters Taurus, which I think is for another video. Um, and it makes two sextiles to Venus, one when Venus is in Aquarius. So you can go from a secret affair to meeting the one. If you are, Pisces ascendant. Um, but definitely there are, but then when Venus is in Aries, it's like, less of a time. Um, it is an okay time. I think that all in all, I don't see it being too complicated. I think it ends on a lovely, lovely note with that second sextile to Venus. Let's go back to that second sextile to Venus at May 5th. So, it's last time, its last couple of degrees are going to be quite harmonious. Um, so it's going to leave, it's going to ingress with the good note. It's going to at least leave Aries with the good note. So wherever Aries is in your chart, and perhaps I want to do a bit of a recap for the houses. Let's see. How are we with time? Yes, we definitely can do that. I'll just connect my cell phone to the battery so it can charge. And then we can do that ascendant, all 12 ascendants. So, starting with Aries. So for Aries ascendant, Jupiter is going to travel through your first house, and it's going to start with um, a bit of a square. If I'm not mistaken, that was a bit of a square. It's going to sextile Venus from your 11th house. From Venus is in your 11th house. It's going to conjunct Venus in your first house, and then it's going to sextile Venus in your Gemini house. So this is 3 times. If you are Aries ascendant, these are actually 3 times Venus ruling your 7th house. Wherever Venus is in your own chart, if you're having a Venus return, if somehow Venus is perfected for you, these are 3 occasions where you can begin new relationships, new business partners, new romantic relationships. Venus, all in all, is supportive. Venus, all in all, is your go-to time, especially when she's in your 11th house. Again, depending on your chart, right? If you have some messy stuff in your 11th and Venus conjuncts them, then of course not. But other than that, like it's really a happy time. So you're going to have a renewed sense of optimism. Watch your eating and watch your weight, because that can manifest into a sense of optimism that, oh, I'm doing all this, I'm working out, I'm being active, then I can eat whatever sweets that I want to eat. Jupiter is eating sweets as well, and you might find out that it's not exactly so. So if it's not like a deep issue that you have, like eating disorder or something that is beyond the scope of this episode, if it's just something that that you may have tendency or proneness to, then you might want to watch for that sweet tooth that can or that overall sense of optimism that you can think you can eat whatever sweets you have, and have that not affecting your body, because that is not the fact. But other than that, you can actually heal some issue you have around your sense of self, your life path with Chiron there. Um, and you can definitely meet a significant other this time, up until May 18th, from December 20, especially during the times where we have the sextile to Venus. With Venus, even the conjunction, with Venus in your first house, she's going to go through your first house. I know she's not the happiest in Aries, but still, this is Venus coming to you. So there can be good things happening there as well. Things to watch for, like I said, optimism about, sweet not having an effect on you. If your path in life, whatever your path in life includes, you can be a bit over optimistic in the beginning, but you will find your way to assess it, to assess yourself more correctly in the end. Note that at the end of Jupiter in your sign, it does square Mars. So it does. Mars is applying to square the Jupiter, and Mars is the ruler of your ascendant, and that may be a bit more sensitive time. So you might it's good to be optimistic, it's good to think big, but also have like a bit of a reality check and make sure you're somehow connected to, to a reality that is sometimes not as optimistic, and you can accommodate for that reality and not be dependent on your plan A to work out. But all in all, you're still going to achieve a lot during this time. Ascendant Taurus. So this Jupiter thing is happening in your 12th house. This is a time where you take care of your mental health, of your spiritual well-being. It's a time where you might be exposed to enemies that you didn't know you have, like hidden enemies. It's a time where you might desire to be more secluded. When Venus is going to go through there or sextile that Jupiter, you might have a bit of a hidden flair that you don't want to be too optimistic about in this case, because again, because it is the 12th house, only because it is the 12th house, and Jupiter will end with squaring the ruler of the 12th house. So tending to self-care, observing your beliefs, observing your thoughts. You might find someone that you listen to, or like a guru figure, or go on a retreat that can be healing for you, but although a bit difficult because it opened up a karmic wound that you experienced there at this time. As for you, because Venus is ruling your ascendant, so you're probably the Venusian person, and because Jupiter is in the 12th house, I would not recommend, like, unless you're natal, that's like a Jupiter return for you. I would not, if you are encountering some romantic options, I would recommend to keep your feet on the ground, and make sure that your sense of belief in the 12th, with Jupiter in the 12th house, your belief, your worldview might be hidden. Your worldview might be subjected to hidden motives and to hidden things and to hidden enemies. So this is you're probably one of the only signs where I say no, don't, like, if it's in with, as long as it's within your power, make that Venus presence account to something else. Do something artistic. Change your relation to savings, to less speculative investments, but not go out and mingle, because Jupiter is very strong. Jupiter is your beliefs. And when your beliefs are not in a good aspect, then you don't want to be romantically involved. You could be doing things that are not good, okay? For you, or you could have a Venusian figure doing things that are messing with your head, messing with your beliefs, messing with your spiritual sense of meaning and purpose. So you are probably the only ascendant where I would say, don't go Venus here. Ascendant Gemini. This thing is happening in your 11th house. So Jupiter in your 11th house. If you need to do crowdfunding, then you might have some elections to do that during this time. If you need to launch some project, if you are a public figure, or you might become a bit of a public figure, If you need to go and speak in a conference, if you have a dream or a goal that you have, and that you need the society supporting in some way, that you could have some fine elections there, especially when Mars goes direct. And you could definitely be meeting someone from abroad, or alternatively, somebody coming to you that you meet and you encounter, and you can have a very supportive friendship and relationship. So you could have a situation where you have a lover, you meet a lover and a friend during this time. So look out for that. Like, that might be a big deal. That might be something that you might enjoy, whether it's longer term or not. This is something that is blessed. Ascendant Cancer. So Jupiter is crossing your 10th house. 10th house of career. Again, if that Venus thingy that comes with your Jupiter is one of your subordinates, then you want to be extra cautious, because longevity is not promised here. So you don't want to be doing mistakes for you being too optimistic. But other than that, when Venus is in your, well, 8th house is questionable, but and then 12th house, yeah. Well, that Venus thingy can be questionable, but you could have like a business with your sibling, or you could have a Venusian figure that is your boss that actually favors you. Just watch that it doesn't get where it shouldn't get, and you should be okay, because you could still enjoy the effect of that Venus. Like, you could have an accountant that is supportive of your career, that shows you how to manage your wealth, or you could have, well, in the 12th house, it's less of a thing. When Venus goes to Gemini, even though it's a sextile, oh my gosh, watch yourself, because this could be like a hidden enemy. This could be like somebody that has an affair with you and is dragging you down, or is affecting your public image, or is trying to seduce you even. Like, even though it's a sextile, because it's coming from your 12th, it can be something that is blessed, but it can also be like a hidden enemy. So you want to be very careful, and definitely you don't want that affecting your public image, and you definitely, like, you rather not pursue it, because connection between the 10th and the 12th can mean that what you do in the 12th leaks into the 10th. So and that can be by chance even. You could be someone who is absolutely not unethical to date or unethical to see, but because you met her in the occasion where Venus was in your 12th, then that can be a contributing factor to something that you do secretly, leaking and affecting your public image. Um, but it can also be affecting your public image positively, like, it's unexpected. So that can be the case, but in any case, you could be receiving, until Venus reaches your 12th, you could be receiving help from Venusian figures to even heal a wound that you have, or heal your social image, or a contribution to your career, or go higher up the rank. Just make sure it doesn't go where it shouldn't go. And this was for ascendant, ascendant Cancer. Ascendant Leo. This thing is happening in your 9th house. Jupiter is crossing your 9th house. So you could have some good time, some adventure. Now, this is interesting, because Venus is going to cross here. It's going to sextile Jupiter from your 7th house. Okay? Who knows, right? You could be traveling with a partner. You could be meeting someone, or you could be traveling with your own long-term partner, or you could be meeting someone. And then she's going, the next sextile will be from the 11th. So you could be traveling to a conference and meeting someone there, and having, a good fresh new beginning towards the end, towards the beginning of May. Those are things to take into account. It's very blessed effect for you. In general, you get a shot of optimism, In your ninth house, maybe you even start a new studies, maybe you go traveling, maybe you start, higher learning, and then you go to a conference and you meet the love of your life, or you just meet someone that you're going to spend a lot of good time with. Yes, Mars, I know, but hey, there's good stuff here too, a lot of them. So, and there can be a wound around your world, around your faith, your worldview, your belief, your connection with the divine, or with, people abroad that you get the chance to heal at this time. Ascendant Virgo, this is happening in your eighth house. With Venus coming from your sixth, that's open enemies, and then 10th, which is another like you don't want to start a romance with your boss. So when Mars squares Jupiter. So again, not less of a romance, but definitely a good time to sort out the resources that you have that are of other people. So either wealth you manage, or wealth you invest in, or gains from interest, your investments. It's a good time to sort it out. Jupiter is just going to magnify things, but it's also going to create a sense of optimism. You don't want to get into too much of speculative investment this time, because you might tend to. And that's like, that's your sweet tooth, right? So you don't want to get into too many speculative investments. This is not a good time for that. That can be the dark side of this. But if you have been experiencing difficulties to tackle issues of depth, issues of joint finances, Jupiter can bring a sense of optimism that things can be sorted out, and that there can be a new approach and a new worldview around that, and the new mindset does get different result. Just watch for speculative investment, because Jupiter can bring too much optimism, and while you can succeed, like, I'm not saying this can't happen, you might tend to go overboard. And if you join the chironic presence, then you might try to overcompensate with speculative investment, and this is not the way to go. Okay, you need a new approach. You need to be optimistic. You need to be taking new steps, but not be overly speculative. And ascendant Libra. So this is happening in your seventh house. So it begins with the first sextile with Venus in your fifth house. So you could be focus on doing stuff you do for fun. What you do for fun can land you with a beautiful relationship. And because it is the joint of, especially when Venus is going to be in Aquarius, and Venus is going to be in your fifth when Jupiter is in your seventh, especially if you are a woman looking for a man, or or a person who is looking for same-sex relations, especially, like, I don't know, like same-sex relations. You could find a romance that develops into a more committed relationship at this time. And although with Mars retrograde is something that you do need to pay attention to, look out for that. Look out for that chance. Look out for something real, something developing in your life, or someone that you meet while doing what you do for fun, or around children. I don't know. You can meet someone that they can become more serious. Alternatively, Venus is also going to sextile Jupiter from your ninth house, so you could be traveling, especially if it's perfected for you. So you could be traveling or meet somebody in your higher studies that is going to end up being a partner. Or you can have a partner, meet a partner, and then decide taking on a new field of study, or partner that supports your dreams, that supports your higher learning, that supports your traveling to enrich your worldview. So that all in all can be very positive for you. Those two sextiles to Jupiter. In the meantime, there is also the chironic thingy, so you get a chance to heal a wound you have around one-on-one partnerships, business partnerships, and anything to do with the relation of you and another person. Ascendant Scorpio. So for you, this is happening actually in your sixth house, and Venus is going to come to sextile from the fourth, and then she's going to sextile from the eighth. None of these houses shows for like an new intimate relationship, and neither does the sixth. But even though it's not romantic, you get the chance to deal with a matter regarding your health or a pet. You can adopt a pet and that can contribute to your health, or even your work, or even people who have had conflicts at work, at the workplace, at the service that you give to others. Um, then you can be of good service to society, and you can heal a wound you have around this issue. You can heal a wound you have around certain open enemies or certain health matters that you have. Unfortunately, that does mean that those issues will be magnified and will be put to the front. Some Venusian figure from your family or from your home or your upbringing can be of help, or your accountant can be of help if it's something work related. Then maybe you're thinking, I don't know, certain changes that you make. But all of that is also going to concern with your health, your physical health. So you need to take that into account. You need to adjust for that. If you have rights that you need to stand for, then you need to be doing that, or you might want to assist someone who can help you stand up for your rights and get funding if you need, I don't know, to take a vacation from your work or a sick leave or something like that. But that is going to address an issue that, while it's not easy and not comfortable to address, is actually going to be very beneficial on the longer term, because it is in general it is a positive effect, but it's the type of positive that magnifies the problems first and then resolves them. Ascendant Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, Jupiter is crossing your fifth house. You can be enlarging the family. You can be starting a new creative project. Hopefully, you're not going to get pregnant from a sibling. I had to. The joke is too like it's too evident for me to ignore it, because Venus is sextiling from the third. But you could be meeting someone when you're doing, like, if you're going on your daily walk. Then you could be meeting someone like right in your neighborhood. And then the second occasion is, yeah, well, like, this is another fifth and seventh connection. So you can do something for a hobby and then meet a significant other. And then when Venus sextiles from Gemini, she's sextiling from your seventh. So wait, you can meet somebody that you can become committed with, or you can get pregnant. Like, this is something that can happen for you this year. It's not without problems, because then Jupiter is going to cross Chiron. But that is, again, it's something that is meant to heal. It's a point of healing. It's just an uncomfortable point of healing. It's not something bad or negative. In this sense, it's just uncomfortable. So that can be quite an exciting time for you. Of course, that new life that you bring does not have to be a child. It can be a new creative project, maybe something that you will work on with a partner, or something that you will work on with somebody that you met in your neighborhood or a sibling. And that's just a creative project, a fun project, some gamble that you make that's actually going to prove quite successful in most cases. So yeah. Ascendant Capricorn. So for you, this is happening in the fourth house. Jupiter, now, because it's Jupiter crossing the fourth house, this can be giving birth. Yeah, this can be enlarging, because the fourth house is your home, okay, your residence. And Jupiter makes it bigger. So it can be moving to a bigger house. It can also be enlarging the family. Okay, so this can also be a signification of your having Jupiter's also children. Another child comes to the family. It can be your child, or in the family of your origin there is another child. So it can be a child of a sibling, depending on what you have there. Let's say you have, I don't know, Venus that denotes sister, so you maybe your sister is having a baby, and then your family of origin grows. Um, and you will need to address a certain wound, the chronic wound that is in your fourth house there, that will be uncomfortable, but eventually healing. Mm. So Venus is sextiling first from your second house. So that can be, second house. It could be like, a like second house is also where we spend our money. This is also the places that rules, if I'm not mistaken, supermarkets or markets. So you can meet somebody while going for shopping for groceries. Um, uh, but and then it's like the sixth, like the from Gemini it's the sixth for you. Yeah. Well, the sixth, like it's not a romantic place so much. Or maybe you're buying a pet, or and then yeah, you're not marrying your pet, of course. So maybe you buy it from someone, and that someone wants your number, or you want their number, or something like that. If that is a romance thingy. Um, so it's very likely to be, all in all, a time where you're going to spend more with your family of origin, spend more at home, enlarging your home, or tending to your home. Some bigger, like there's something happens where you have to tend to your home more, but you find joy in it. You will also find a bit of a wound in there. You'll find current in there, but all in all, you find a sense of meaning, of purpose. So it's not something that you're going to suffer from too much. Ascendant Aquarius. This is happening in your third house. So you might be tending to your neighborhood, to your neighbors. You might get more into contact with your neighbors. Venus is going to sextile from your first house. Um, so and then she's going to sextile from your fourth house. Yeah. So you're getting the help of Venusian figures in your life, or you might be the Venusian figure, or you are attractive to someone in your neighborhood. Um, or it's something to do with your daily routine, something, yeah, like you would tend to your daily routine. There's something that you would do, maybe something new that you would do in your daily routine. This can also be a new business. In this case, it can also be a new business that you might get help from the family, or somebody helps you, and that's how it evolves. Um, what you do every day becomes important. What you do every day gets the center of attention, and so it also steers up something that would need to be addressed. That's the chironic thing there. Um, you could be blogging a lot, or at this time being expressive, creative. So those things. Less romantic. Okay, it's probably not as romantic, or it increases romance that you already have. If you're already having a family with someone, that can be a person that that helps you with blogging, or with your daily routine, and or you can communicate that in sort of a way, and that can be beneficial. Or you can alternatively, you can meet somebody in your neighborhood. um, Pisces ascendant. This is happening in your second house. So, if you have thought about putting money aside, this transit is going to make it very difficult for you. Because, like I said in my Mercury video, Aries is in a sense of self, and Jupiter increases both your skills, so it can increase your profit, but it can also increase your expenditure. Um, it is a time where you can definitely launch a new business, or launch or market something new. But there would be something that you would need to address with the way you make money, and with the way you spend money. You're gonna need to address these two things: how you make money, how you spend spend money, what your values are. Okay, because this is also the house of values. So Venus is going to first sextile from the 12th house, so there can be, the fighting temptation. All in all, Jupiter is in your second, so expenditure and stuff. So you might watch for a Venus that tries to take your money or take your sense of self-value. Don't spend that. Don't go spending that money. If you're a Pisces ascendant, don't go spending that money when Venus is in your 12th. And whenever whenever you go shopping and you see a Venusian figure, like you know be cautious. um, but then Venus is going to reach your second house, so this is a time where a Venusian figure can actually help you increase your income, or this can be a time where you might be spending on certain Venusian things or Venusian figures in your life, and that might not be necessarily negative. That can be something that is okay. Or the Venusian is contributing to your sense of self-value, but do remember that this is transient. Venus is going to move on. um, so definitely we'll address the Chiron. I talked about this, and then the next sextile of Venus is going to be from your Gemini house, or from your fourth house. So unless you're like me and you happen to have Juno there, I don't see how fourth house is a place where you can meet a significant other. So it's not that much of a romance thing for you. You need to remember that, because Venus is going to be going through your 12th house. Okay? And it's going to look very lovely. But you don't put your money there, don't put your resources there. Whatever comes into your 12th, make sure look at how it is aspected before you make a decision. The transit in itself is going to have Venus sextiling your Jupiter, but then be careful. Don't be too optimistic about what's happening there. And then she's going to go to your second house, and yeah, that can be a good time. This can be a good time for a good time. Yes, absolutely. You do have to remember that if you meet Venus here in your second house, or when she conjuncts Jupiter, while it can be a nice connection, you do need to remember that you meet Venus when she is not at her home. So you might need either you are the Venusian figure and you will need to make sure that you're confident, and you will have the chance to heal that confidence, but or that you will make sure that you know how to give that confidence. And if, let's say, you like someone for being Martian, then don't hold your horses. Say it, be a compliment. Make sure that you invest in that person, because they're going to need that. Um, they're going to need your encouragement. They're going to need you to be passionate about them. They're going to need you to be demonstrative about your passions if you meet someone at that time. So as long as it's going good, don't hold your horses. And then the sextile from your fourth house. Um, well, it can be that a Venusian figure in your family or a sister is contributing a business that you have, or is allowing or is ushering, the marketing or spreading the word of mouth, because it's something that Gemini is very good at. So you can have somebody, with a Venus in Gemini spreading the word of mouth around your business, around your entrepreneurship, and Jupiter is at the end of your second house, so you can get the marketing boost, you can get the PR that's coming from home. You can get clientele, perhaps that is thanks to the help of somebody that from home, or somebody that is living with you in the same house. So they can actually even be a roommate that is spreading the word and helping you out, helping your business out, or giving you a sense of boost, like in verbal boost your sense of self-value, somebody who believes in you, and that can be a very beneficial effect. So the thing with Jupiter, it expands your skill. You might be learning something new, and that brings you a good sense of joy. You might be very optimistic about that, and you also might be, putting in the work, but also putting in the cash, which yield back. But like with Jupiter, it's like you're enjoying this. You're enjoying it for the sake of it. You just need to make sure that you don't go overboard with your expenditures, and you do have the chance to make money as well. So take advantage of that. Make your money as well, and whatever, like you might be spending more on learning things or on religion or on religious groups or on charity, then make sure you're giving to the right people, because you could be optimistic, and so you might want to wait, for Jupiter. Like when Jupiter, if for example, when Venus sextiles Jupiter from your fourth house, and let's say you spend money on a Venusian person that lives with you, it's a better investment than when Venus is in the 12th house. So, you know, but there are sort of 12th house charities with Venusian that you can contribute to. You just have to make sure that you're seeing the picture correctly, and that you're investing like you could be investing in a good cause, but in the wrong organization, especially when Venus is in your 12th. So mind that, because you will be tempted to spend. You will be tempted. Jupiter is the instinct to do good, so you will be spended to be you will be tempted to be charitable at this time, and impulsively charitable and demonstratively charitable. So and generous to a fault with the money that you make. That can be quite some money. So it is best to invest at home than to invest outside of home in this time. But also take into account that Sedna in the next 40 years is going to cross your fourth house. So the best would be if you could be charitable towards yourself first, so that you can allow yourself to lose money without losing your sense of self, and you can allow yourself to form connections without losing you. um, all in all, you're supported. It's not a bad transit. It's just Jupiter increasing that place where the wallet is opening, and the wallet is opening with the heart, and if there is passion involved, then um, stay grounded. So even when we invest on studies, like there are many things you can study without putting any money into it. And if you do it for leisure or for time, like be honest about it. Like you're not necessarily investing in your business. You just want to learn, how to do that. I don't know, like you just want to go mountain climbing. You don't have to try to excuse that with how it's going to increase your business or something like that, or make you more effective at work or whatnot. So that was the 12 ascendants with Jupiter in Aries. On a mundane level, can that increase war? Optimism around war? Well, generally yes, but the aspects that it makes favor diplomacy. It makes a sextile to Venus, it conjuncts the Sun, it makes another sextile to Venus, it conjuncts Chiron. Yes, it does square Mars in the end, but Jupiter is already going to be in the end of Aries. So it's like, even if there will be like a religious war or a small religious war, operation like we have in the Middle East, then that's going to be transient. So it's not going to be something too big, and Jupiter will already be like a minute before Taurus. So I don't necessarily see that being like this can actually make it so that people will come into agreements or negotiation from a perceived position of power that can even be a genuine optimistic position of power. And nothing bad happens when you come to the negotiating table sure that you are able to meet your self-interest without giving your self-identity or your of your sense of self or the sense of self of your country or your country's definition. Like there's like I don't see harm coming from the place where countries meet at the point where they believe that they can achieve something, that they have achieved something in the fight, that they have achieved something in the battle, that they are certain of their abilities, and they are certain of the ability to come into an agreement while maintaining a sense of self and maintaining their definition as a country or peoples or autonomy. So there's a billion of good opportunities here to do good. Yes, Mars is not good in the beginning, but it's definitely looking way better in the end. Hopefully, this will go the right way. And yes, it can be, it can be at a period where on a mundane level, there can be, they never miss a chance to miss a chance with this harmonic aspect. It can be a bit of a never miss a chance to miss a chance because of waiting for the next great thing. But the temptations that Venus possesses they're too big. Okay, Venus sextile in Jupiter is seductive to do something good. So think about a country that's been in a war and now it's appreciated, it's being perceived as a winner, it's being seen in a good light, and then it's being offered some stuff, then and its chironic wound is being healed. Like there really isn't a reason for that country to jump overboard, and there's a good reason for that country to make an agreement, see itself as a winner, market itself as a winner, and nothing necessarily terrible happens except for that square to Mars in the end. That can be a bit problematic, okay? But then Jupiter will end up in Taurus, and then we are on a completely different story. So if it is the case of never miss a chance to miss a chance, it's like a bombastic miss because there is a lot of wins here. There's a lot of making for the type of negotiation that comes from a position of power, from going to the negotiating table, believing that you have achieved enough, that you're in a good position, that you are certain of yourself, and that is a very potent time to make some agreements, to make some arrangement, to make some negotiations that are constructive, rather than hurting and stepping on everybody's toes. So that's on a mundane level. If you want more of this, then you can subscribe to me and so on. I hope I have neutralized the previous live by now. And so, yeah, before I entirely lose my voice, I'm going to say good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. And I'll see you in my next video. That was Spirit of Matter with Jupiter in Aries. Bye-bye.